Okay, I'm going to cover two basic things in this video. I am in the standard user interface. That's why it looks this way. If you use Dark UI, you may notice it's slightly different. What I'd like to cover first is tagging a character. So there are multiple ways to do this. So you can go into options and find out what your tag window is set to. By default, it is Control Shift T, which brings up your tagging window. Once yourself or another person in your group or raid is selected, you can tag them. You can select which tag to give it. In this case, here's a sword, and you can drag any of these icons onto your taskbar so that you can easily use them again at another time. There are also, I'm going to switch back to Dark UI. Dark UI default. Bear with me for a second while it switches. It takes a few seconds. And I will cover how to do the exact same thing in Dark UI. Okay, I still have myself selected here. In Dark UI, you may look a little different depending on how you're set up, but there's a drop-down window, in which you can also change your tag. As you see, I just gave myself a green flame. I can go back to the red X. The only problem is you cannot drag these onto your hotbar. It doesn't work the same way as the other window. Under your socials, which is your macro page, you can also create a macro. I created one earlier, and as you can see, what I put in was the /tag sword. We can put in /tag skull or whatever you want to call this. And that macro you can also put on your hotbar, target yourself, and use it to set a tag. So there are three different easy ways to do that. For people who are often the main assist or the tank, putting it onto your hotbar makes it easy. Every time you zone into a raid zone, you can then use that. Okay, now your detriments window. In Dark UI, you could find your windows. As you can see, my mouse happens to be hovering over my detriments window. But if you use function 10, otherwise called F10, it shows you all your windows. So if you ever lose one, you can find them again. In this case, here's my detriment window. In Dark UI, all windows have this little Dark UI settings. It may not always be in the upper left, it depends, but there's always one of these. When you click that, it gives you the options. So in here, you can see that I've set my default icon size to 55. By default, it's much smaller, it's like 20. So in here, you can make it as large or as small as you want, and that will increase. This window will literally be filled up with the icon. That makes it much easier to see your detriments in the middle of a raid or when something critical is going on. I'm going to attempt to get myself a detriment. I don't know if that's even possible, but we'll see. See if I get enough stuff hitting me, perhaps it will come up. And there you see, here's a detriment, razor bite. You see that's much larger. Normally the icon would be smaller than my hotbar icons, but in this case, there it is. It's very noticeable. It makes things much easier to see during a fight when you don't have time to really look around. You want it obvious. As you see, it went off a little bit, but I can always expand this so that I can have two wide. And that's a nice option. So that's something that I really wanted to cover was the ability to change the detriment window and also how to tag yourself. This is a short video, but those are the things I wanted to cover. Thank you very much.